pounding rain and punishing winds. You can never underestimate the power of a hurricane.
We were praying out to God, hoping this would pass.
1,500 tornadoes generated, most of them spanning just seconds.
We thought, oh my gosh, this is really bad.
Tonight, the First Alert Weather Team is arming you with the information you need to keep your family and home safe during the storm. This is First Alert Hurricane Watch 2012, presented by Baker Glass and Mirror.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish. Tonight, the First Alert Weather Team is going to make sure you and your family are prepared for the 2012 hurricane season.
Tonight, we're going to show you just how devastating a hurricane can be, how decades after a serious storm, scars linger over communities and families.
We're also going to show you how to prepare for hurricane season, so when the storm comes, your family and home are protected.
We've got a busy show ahead, so here's a look at the show forecast. 20 years after Andrew devastated Florida, survivors tell their stories. We'll show you how to keep important information and possessions safe in the event of a storm. And should you put plywood over your windows? We're talking storm myths, showing you what's true and what's false.
But first, we've got to get to Beryl. For the first time in 7 years, we saw a direct landfall from a tropical storm. Beryl came on shore just after midnight, 12:10 Monday morning on May 28th, bringing heavy winds and rain with it. Beryl is our first brush with tropical weather this hurricane season, and it likely won't be our last. It gave us a taste, at least, of the winds and rains we could see if a hurricane hit Jacksonville. Some parts of our area got more than a foot of rain. Winds damaged trees and homes. So right now, take a look at some of the more poignant images of Tropical Storm Beryl. Call it the calm before Beryl, a snapshot of serenity at Jacksonville Beach. These boys knew fun in the sun time was short, so they sailed on skateboards using just a sheet. Ladybug sent us this shot from the pier, and just a bit before sundown, the storm started moving in. Holly sent us this shot from Georgia, where hour by hour, Beryl was moving in on Offerman. Memorial Day festivities were canceled and concerts were called off. The new trampoline was trampled. And take a look at this pic sent in by Francois Clock in East Arlington. This gazebo was ruined. In Brunswick, this palm tree fell onto someone's place. This large sycamore was uprooted in Atlantic Beach. The flooding in Riverside continued at an alarming pace. The water was well over the seawall there, causing residents to worry, while others woke up to trees and pools. Beryl hit here and left a mess in a hurry. So watch your step as we head through the next few days and months ahead. There are docks, missing pieces, trees down on the roads. Power lines are a mess, and as far as cleanup, there was a long ways to go as Beryl headed back out to sea within a couple of days. There's one shot we have to show, a little inspiration that this storm left behind in the form of this beautiful rainbow.
Colorado State University has released its predictions for this year.
They're predicting an average hurricane season, but don't be fooled by the word average. Any storm can pack a major punch.
Here's what the university predicts for the year. 10 named storms, 4 of them strong enough to be hurricanes, and according to the prediction, at least 2 of those storms will become major hurricanes, meaning a Category 3 or stronger. Here's how the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale works. A Cat 1 storm has sustained winds from 74 to 95 miles per hour. Cat 2 has winds from 96 to 110. A Cat 3 storm, 111 to 129 miles per hour. And a Cat 4, 130 to 156. And a Category 5 hurricane has sustained winds of 157 miles per hour or more. Being prepared can be the difference between life and death when a severe hurricane is bearing down. No one knows that better than the man you're about to meet. He survived one of Florida's greatest disasters under circumstances that are hard to believe. An amazing story from an Andrew survivor. Mighty Hurricane Andrew churning through the Bahamas while your wife is giving birth to your 4th child.
Here we have from the hurricane to the other action in this room.
Such was the dilemma for NOAA hurricane research meteorologist Stanley Goldenberg.
As a meteorologist, I was short-circuiting every way. It's the birth of my child, which any birth, just any father knows, is a major event. But then it was a major hurricane out there about to hit the U.S., added to the fact it was about to hit us.
What followed was literally a night of terror, much of which was caught on camera.
Finally, about 4:30 a.m., the eye wall hit. And it was like the power went out, and it was like someone took a gearbox and just revved the whole thing up. And it started getting real nasty out there. We were in the hallway, kind of hunkering down in the hallway, And things just kept getting, the main thing I remember, just kept getting worse and worse. I mean, it already felt so bad, but it just kept getting worse and worse. And we're in the hallway, and kids are freaking out, and my in-laws are freaking out.
Using whatever they could get their hands on, they put comforters, a couch, and mattress over them just as the roof was peeled from their home.
What happened next was the wall between the living room and the kitchen fell on us. And on it were the refrigerator and the stove and cabinets, and the stove fell on my back. We were just like being crushed. We know we were going to be crushed, asphyxiated, or drowned. I mean, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And like most people do, in disasters, we were praying, crying out to God. I mean, hoping this would pass. I still get emotional talking about this thing. They were freaking out. And I just kept saying to them, you know, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
It's been said that even 20 years later, there are still stark reminders of Hurricane Andrew, if you at least know where to look. Where I'm standing here is the lot that used to be Stan's home. Still completely empty, desolate like the morning after Andrew.
Our house, which had wood shutters, the roof lifted off, and as you can see, we have no house.
About sunrise, a neighbor across the street helped Stan and his family out of their home. It wasn't until the next day that he finally got to his wife at the hospital.
I didn't get to talk to her until about 24 hours after the storm. And, you know, when I finally got through to her, and I forgot, we called out, we still had some phone lines, and I just wept. I mean, it just all poured out.
Stan suffered some nerve damage on his foot, but he and the rest of the family were otherwise okay. Today, Stan continues his work at NOAA and has become a big advocate for how to properly protect windows when a hurricane is approaching.
A storm like Andrew is proof how dangerous a hurricane can be. That's why it's important to have a family plan in the event of a storm. Part of having a good plan, knowing your evacuation route. With a storm approaching Duval County, beach residents would take Atlantic Beach or Butler Boulevards to make their way to I-95. Westsiders would utilize Normandy Boulevard, Beaver Street, and I-10 to get to I-95. And from the south, US 1, San Jose, and of course I-95 can be used. In St. Johns County, US 1, I-95, and State Road 13 are your main north-south routes, while State Road 207, State Road 16, and County Road 207 will serve east-west traffic. In coastal Nassau County, State Road 200 serves as the main route to get to US 17 or I-95, while western Nassau County residents will take US 301 to east to I-95. It is always critical to listen to your local officials when it comes to these evacuations. They make these calls with your safety in mind. And remember, if you live at the beaches, you'll need a pass to get back into most places along the beach. You can find evacuation resources, including links to the maps we just showed you, by going to the Hurricane Center of ActionNewsJax.com.
Oh my God! Middle of May, a terrifying sight in the sky. A massive tornado bearing down on Joplin, Missouri, tearing apart everything in its wake. Families were forced to run from that storm, but the man you're about to meet went to Joplin to face that storm head on.
We came across the first, what we thought was a damaged path, which was just a bunch of cars and trucks blown everywhere. And I was overwhelmed just by that alone, and then also the smell of ozone because of all the lightning that was around, and that was a scary combo.
20 years of storm chasing couldn't fully prepare Dr. Jason Persoff for the aftermath of 2011's Joplin, Missouri tornado, an EF5 tornado with winds in excess of 200 miles per hour.
I always had thought that I could help out if there was ever a major disaster or I came across a car accident, which is far more likely, but I never anticipated anything like Joplin. I was shocked by the amount of head trauma there was. And often I had thought about it before I'd ever encountered Joplin as head trauma occurring because people got hit by things. But rather, the types of trauma looked as though people were picked up from their head and just thrown down and slammed down.
Dr. Persoff says there's a lesson for us this hurricane season.
So, you know, here on the First Coast, we get very cavalier about, hurricanes. We think of hurricanes as being relatively benign. One hasn't hit here since 1968. And people will often tell you that there's a geography that's protective. Oh, we live near the hill, there's an ancient Indian curse. And we hear this all the time. The people of Joplin simply, for the most part, ignored the tornado warning.
Besides destructive storm surge, landfalling tropical storms and hurricanes often spawn damaging twisters.
One of the things that's most threatening about hurricanes is the rapidity with which tornadoes can form. Most people don't realize the damage scale that we use for tornadoes was named